Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live videos. And so in this one here, I want to talk about episode 3, and I want to talk about Carl Grimes' return. Well, sort of return anyways. He kind of made a return, but not really. It was the first time that we heard of him in a very long time, so it was kind of shocking, honestly, just to hear his name. And yeah, it was honestly really incredible. So I want to talk about that and just talk a little bit more about the scene in general, break everything down here and what it could mean for the future. So obviously, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. I'll be posting 2 videos a day. And yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. And like I was saying, Carl Grimes, he kind of made a return in last night's episode of The Walking Dead. In this scene, we see Michonne, I guess it was just during the time that she was off of killing walkers and whatnot. She was, I guess, walking back to her apartment. I'm assuming that she had a place to stay there, right? So she was walking back to some place, and then she saw a place that does like these, I guess, artistic drawings of people on, like, I'm guessing, like devices, like electronic devices, right? Like TVs or phones and whatnot. And immediately she saw that and she was like, oh, that's where Rick has been. Rick has been coming here for the last however long, and he's been getting these portraits done by you. And I actually sort of like this explanation for everything here, because obviously Rick isn't going to be the one that's sort of drawing and doing all of this, right? And the fact that he was getting these things custom made at this shop here, like, you know, just Michonne finding it afterwards, like, it's so perfect. It is just so perfect. And the guy that's there, he seems very, very nice, honestly. He seems like very caring, and he really does care about his work and what he's sort of putting into it, because it means a lot to other people and stuff. And he remembered Michonne, or not even remembered Michonne, I guess remembered, like, he remembered her from doing a drawing, which is kind of insane. Like, Rick got him to draw Michonne so many times that he was just like, yeah, I was drawing you, and he remembered her name and stuff, right? Which, again, just really insane. And he mentions in this scene that he was trying to draw a boy, and he couldn't quite get it right. And, well, he couldn't get it right for him, like, obviously a reference to Rick. Like, as much as he was trying to draw, what Rick was telling him, like, it didn't look like Carl to Rick. You know, Rick would be like describing Carl and all of that, and then yeah, he just couldn't get it right. And I mean, first of all, that could mean so many things. I mean, like, one, Rick is starting to forget what Carl looks like, at least just like the smaller details. Like, obviously he probably remembers certain things about him, but it's like, in order to get his face right, he's probably like, I don't recognize it. It doesn't look like Carl, right? And it's probably hard for him to remember, because it's been like over 10 years since his son died. So it's probably, he doesn't have a photograph. He has nothing of him, right? So it's probably, like, it's heartbreaking. It is very sad, but I could just see that happening kind of over time. And it's not really on the artist, I don't think, in that moment. Like, I don't think the artist can't really get it right. Like, that's a possibility, obviously, but I feel like it's more likely that Rick couldn't really remember Carl properly, right? But obviously he could remember Judith and Michonne, because he was, like, just with them. So it's a small detail there that I found very, like, whoa. It's kind of, it's sad because he was with Carl for so long, but it is one of those things where, like, the smaller details after 10 to 15 years, you might just forget. Like, there might be something. It's not like Rick has seen a photo of Carl or anything like that. He has seen nothing of Carl since his death, right? So it's literally like he's just going based off of memory, and it's been so long, right? So obviously he knows what he looks like, but it's just, again, the smaller details of it, right? And this scene immediately just made me want more Carl mentions. Like, I want Carl to come back up in the story a lot more. I think episode 4 would honestly be the perfect episode, because that one is focused on them talking about everything kind of thing. So talking about Carl a lot, I think, would be kind of cool. Just because I feel like, like, Michonne mentioned him, but Rick didn't. And I'd be really happy to hear Rick talk about Carl and everything, right? And maybe, talking about Carl and just what he meant to him and all of that, maybe that transitions into some talk about Negan and just sort of what happened afterwards, right? And I think that'd be really cool, like, it just talking about kind of everything. Like, I wonder if the reveal and how the discussions of everything goes is, first, it's a lot about CRM stuff, they're arguing, then she mentions RJ, and then from RJ, they talk about Carl and everything. And then from Carl, they talk about sort of, Negan, the Whisperers, Daryl, everything. They get into all of that, which kind of goes back to the CRM stuff. And they're like, all right, let's fight back kind of thing. I wonder if that's sort of the direction overall of the episode. We'll see. But yeah, I hope that Carl does come up at some point here. I saw this online. I saw this from a few people that were commenting this. And I actually wonder if maybe she got a drawing of RJ done. And maybe that's how she tells Rick about RJ. I think that would be incredible. Like, I feel like in that way, though, I mean, the only way that would actually make sense in any way is if she got a drawing of all 3 of them. Then, him seeing that, he's going to see Carl, Judith, and then he'll be like, who's the other kid, right? And then that's how RJ comes up. I wonder if that's the way that Michonne tells Rick. I think that would be really cool. Like, again, if you watch the scene, it does just sort of like cut off. You know, you don't see Michonne walk away or anything like that. It just sort of, it ends right there. So I wonder if she got a drawing of all three of them, and maybe she's able to describe Carl better, right? Like maybe she's able to kind of get what Carl looks like better. And then so when Rick sees it, Rick is just like, that's Carl, right? And then it'd make this moment mean a lot more. Like I think that'd be crazy. And again, that's why I kind of feel like it has to be all three of their children, right? Like you have to get all three of them there. And I think that would be a really amazing reveal for RJ, unless maybe she got it on like 3 separate phones, you know, like, oh, this is Carl and Judith. And then she pulls out the 3rd phone and it's like, this is RJ. Really insane if that's the case. I think it would be a really incredible way to reveal it though, right? Because how else are you going to reveal RJ to Rick? I feel like you're just going to kind of be like, yeah, oh, by the way, we have a son named RJ, right? Like, I feel like is she just going to say it out like that? Probably not. I think saying it using the phones is almost perfect because that is something that Rick has been trying to do for a long time. Rick has been trying to, you know, communicate to Michonne through like the phones and stuff, right? Like having phones of Michonne and Judith, just drawings, throwing it out there in the world just to see if she would find one of them, which eventually she did. I think Michonne telling Rick through this way is just, it's so perfect. It's so perfect. I think, honestly, it's kind of the way that I want it to happen now. And I wonder if it is going to happen this way. That would be really awesome. But yeah, we do have all week to talk about that. So to focus more on Michonne and Carl, and, you know, I think that's also another aspect to this that I think is really amazing, is that Michonne and Carl's relationship was very, very special, right? Like, if you just view things from Carl's point of view, even from Michonne's point of view, because she just lost a child as well. So, you know, having that special bond with Carl, I think was also very, very awesome for her, you know, just really amazing. And I think for Carl, it was sort of the same thing. Like after he lost his mom, you know, Carl was so lost and he needed somebody. Because if you think about it, like Rick was so focused on leading everyone, right? He was the leader, he was doing this and that, and he was always doing that. Like nothing really changed for him. I feel like after Lori died, it wasn't like he just like, okay, now I'm going to focus on being a father full time, right? Like, no, he still kept doing what he was doing. Everyone else sort of took care of Judith and Carl, right? And so I think Carl just being around his mom all the time, I think was just so used to that and was so lost, and I think just needed someone. And then obviously Michonne was that person. Michonne came in, it just worked, you know, and they just, again, that relationship I think is amazing. And, you know, Michonne smiling in this scene when she says Carl as well, because she's just like, she's remembering him, you know, just when she's saying that in that scene, she's thinking of Carl, right? And it's amazing because she's saying it with a smile. Like that just says a lot. It's so heartbreaking, but it's so beautiful. It's just like, it makes you miss Carl. It makes me miss the moments when, you know, things were so good for them, when they were just a happy family. Like it really is something that is just, it's so sad looking back because it just makes you miss Carl. And it's like, he should be here right now, right? He should be here with Rick and Michonne. Well, actually, he shouldn't be here at the CRM, right? He should be back home in Alexandria with Judith. Well, I guess they're not in Alexandria anymore, but you know what I mean? Really amazing character. And it was so cool to actually hear his name mentioned here. I hope that Carl does come up in the next episode here in episode 4. I think it would be absolutely insane. I think at least at a minimum though, RJ will come up in the sense that, you know, maybe she got a drawing of RJ. But I still think getting a drawing of Carl would be so perfect because Michonne actually, well, not Michonne, but that guy actually said, you know, like as much as I tried to draw Carl, I couldn't get it right for Rick, right? Like Rick just to him, it was like, that's not Carl. I don't recognize him kind of thing, right? And I wonder if Michonne, she could actually do it. Michonne could describe Carl well enough that he's like, you know, he actually gets it right. And then Rick sees it and it's like, that's Carl, right? And maybe that just breaks him. Because that's also an aspect to a lot of this as well, in terms of Rick not wanting to fight back at the CRM, you know? I feel like he's kind of lost a little bit. He's not remembering what's really important to him. Obviously, before he knew, that's why he was trying to leave all the time. But I think he just got so broken and so like, you know, he lost all belief that anything was possible here. And maybe the thing is, you can't leave the CRM because if you leave, that's going to be really bad. But what Okafor wanted to do in terms of changing the CRM from within, that's your way out of here and or into getting back to your family, right? Like I feel like that could be the solution that they get to here, because obviously what Rick is feeling in terms of not being able to get away, that's legit because there's actual concerns there. They can't just run away. But he's also a little lost. And I think Michonne, she doesn't understand how dangerous the CRM are, right? So she doesn't quite get it yet, but she's also right about, you know, the whole situation and trying to actually get back to their family and all that. And I think Michonne's going to remind Rick, like Michonne's going to remind Rick of what it was like kind of thing. And I just think that, I think it's going to be a really incredible episode, honestly. Like, I'm so excited for episode 4. I don't think any of us are ready yet, but yeah, anyways, post all your thoughts down below, your thoughts on, you know, the Carl mention, and your thoughts on, I guess, how maybe RJ could be revealed to Rick Grimes in this episode here. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.